Greetings, listeners, domestic, international, and extraterrestrial. I'm Daive Reed.
And I'm Kristen Riley, and this is The Cast Files.
I am a nerd who has somehow never seen The X-Files.
And I watched it when it originally aired. The Cast Files is a podcast where we watch and discuss every episode of The X-Files spoiler-free. Future spoiler-free.
Future spoiler. Today we are talking about Season 2, Episode 8, One Breath. It originally aired 11/11/1994, year of our Lord Jesus Christ. It was written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong, directed by R.W. Goodwin. I have yet to look up what the R and W stand for.
I haven't looked either.
Great.
IMDb says Scully's comatose body is discovered at a local hospital and her life is hanging in the balance.
Oh.
Or, floating in a boat, whatever.
Or on a table with her dad talking at her.
Yep. When Mr. X shows Mulder the high price he'd have to pay if he truly wants justice for Scully, Mulder must choose between hope and revenge.
Is that what's going on in this episode?
I just read this.
Okay.
And it's not what I got out of it.
Let's start with saying, great episode.
Yes.
I really liked it.
Yes. Not feeling this IMDb synopsis.
No, not at all.
Should I look up what Hulu says?
It's probably the same. Aren't they just like copying each other at this point?
Sometimes they are, yeah. All right, never mind. Okay, so the cast, we have a lot of repeats. We have Shelley Larkin as Margaret Scully.
She did not play Laura Palmer's mom.
No. We have Don S. Davis as Captain William Scully.
He also did not play Laura Palmer's mom, but he did play Bobby's dad.
Yes. And we have Melinda McGraw as Melissa Scully. She was on every series on television, so I just wrote down a couple of them.
Okay.
Quantum Leap, Night Court, The Commish, Sybil, Mad About You, Ally McBeal, and then I stopped because literally anything on TV, I feel like she's been at least in one episode.
I did watch Quantum Leap, Night Court, and Sybil. I did not watch any of those others.
I watched Quantum Leap. I've seen episodes of Night Court, but didn't watch it regularly. I watched episodes of Sybil, and I watched Mad About You. And I don't watch Ally McBeal, and didn't because that stupid dancing baby. Hated it when it was hot.
I vaguely know what you're talking about. I don't know what it has to do with Ally McBeal.
It was in Ally McBeal. That's where it came from.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also have Jay Brazo as Dr. Daly. He was Father Mold in Horns, which is a weird Daniel Radcliffe movie, which I don't think I've seen yet, but I definitely need to.
Weird Daniel Radcliffe movies tend to be pretty weird and good.
They usually are my jam.
Yeah.
I'm into all that Dan Radcliffe has done since being Harry Potter because it's usually just off the wall and bizarre and fun.
Yeah.
He was also Dr. Francis in Antlers, which, according to IMDb, has actually come out now.
Okay. Just in theaters, maybe?
Probably.
Okay. Well, when it's available someplace safe, we can watch it.
Yeah, I've decided I need to see Antlers because the marketing is now working on me since I feel like it's been coming out for at least 2 years, just all the time. It's just been always coming out.
Well, time is a flat circle.
It is. And we're in Florida, so that's why we don't go to theaters because it's a cesspool here. And then Lorena Gale as Nurse Wilkins. She was Ellen Bledsoe in Shadows, and later on, she will be an attorney.
Oh, all right.
So we start with scene 1. Margaret Scully is telling a story about how Dana was not like other girls. She was a tomboy who shot guns and killed a snake and then felt remorse.
Did she shoot the snake?
She shot at the snake.
Yeah. They didn't say who had the killing shot.
No, they didn't. All of the kids were shooting at the snake. What did you feel with this story? How did you feel about this story?
All those kids are bastards and need shot with BB guns.
Yeah. It was a really terrible story.
Yeah.
I hated it the whole time, and that poor snake. One of the kids, I can't remember which one of her brothers, just picks it up and throws it.
The older one.
And I was like, this is what happens when you have a military dad.
I never shot snakes, so I don't know.
You also didn't have a military dad.
Yeah, you did, though. Did you shoot snakes?
All the time.
Wow.
Just now.
I didn't know that about you.
No, I didn't shoot snakes. I didn't shoot anything.
For some reason, the phrase, they kill horses, don't they, just popped into my head.
Okay, so she's also telling the story to Mulder while they await Scully's tombstone. And to me, this is wild that they've ordered a tombstone while Dana is still technically alive. How did you feel about this?
Weird, because it's only been a few weeks since she disappeared.
Right. And she shows up and she's comatose.
Well, this is before she shows back up. So she's just missing at this point.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. I think it's still weird because it's only been a couple weeks.
It's really strange to me, having gone to several funerals, specifically my mom's, and she didn't have a tombstone for a while. There were a lot of extenuating circumstances to go along with that, but having one, it feels too soon.
Feels weird to have a grave, period, without having a body.
I know that some families tend to do that as a representation of closure when someone in their family, someone close to them, goes missing and is missing for so long that there's zero actual likelihood that they'll ever return because they are probably dead. And so I know that it's a thing people do, but I don't think anybody does it 3 weeks after somebody goes missing.
No, that seems quick.
And can you imagine having this job being, I mean, obviously people have this job, being the tombstone giver person. Like, no one's ever happy to see you.
No, but nobody's ever mad at you either.
I'm sure that there are some people who don't know how to deal with their emotions and take it out on you.
If so, I don't get it. Like, I can't even wrap my head around it happening.
It would just be such a solemn job, so man, yikes. So next we go to Mulder's apartment for an incredibly different change of pace.
Yeah.
We see Scully's X-Files sitting on a desk while Mulder watches porn. And that's basically what this whole scene is.
And he's just watching it.
He's laying on the couch watching porn and he rewinds it and plays it again.
It's real weird. I don't know anybody who has that sort of behavior. Just watching the porn as entertainment?
I don't know. So I stopped paying attention the second time we watched this and did a bunch of Googling about David Duchovny, Mulder, and sex addiction. So on Reddit, someone said it could be a nod to the fact that David Duchovny used to host a softcore porn anthology series, The Red Shoe Diaries.
Yeah, which is what I always think of when you say silk stockings. I get the two confused.
Or the fact that he's a sex addict, but I don't think he was open about it at that time. That was a Reddit comment responding to, why does Mulder always watch porn?
Yeah.
WebMD says sex addiction won't be in the upcoming edition of the DSM-5, which is used to diagnose mental disorders, because there's obviously the question of, is this a real thing or is this an excuse thing? Mm-hmm. And so it is not being included in the most recent DSM-5, which tells me that
it's not a real thing.
There's other underlying things happening, that this is more of a symptom than a cause.
Oh, I could get on board with that. That actually makes sense.
Another Reddit commenter about this said, Kumail Nanjiani explained it. He sublimates his sex drive to focus on his work. He has attachment issues and relies on his work identity.
What?
So I'd have to listen to that, whichever episode Kumail speaks about. So I'd like to hear Kumail talk about that, but I don't know which episode of his podcast that was in, just because I'm curious his take on it. But the reason that I ordered it this way is because that makes Mulder having attachment issues is obvious, and relying on his work identity is also obvious. So we see all of these other characteristics which are underlying, which denote other underlying causes, which goes to the why it's not in the DSM-5 right now. Because, again, symptom, not a cause. Then I found an article from OK Magazine. They had an exclusive. It says, David Duchovny tell-all. He wants to set the record straight on his divorce and sex addiction. And more.
Oh, yay.
He's got a new memoir coming out. It includes his relationship with Téa Leoni. They got married after dating for 8 weeks.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
I'm on board with that.
Well, and then he cheated on her a bunch.
I'm not on board with that.
And then in 2008, she had enough of his cheating, misogynistic, womanizing ways and said, go to rehab or we're getting a divorce. So he went to rehab. They ended up getting back together, but then got divorced in 2014. And now David Duchovny is dating a 27-year-old.
Wow.
He is 60.
Is he 60? Wow.
So I found all that out. And then, finally, my final thing is a Psychology Today article called Is Sex Addiction Real? Sex Addiction as a Consequence of a Rigid Gender System by Peg O'Connor, PhD.
Oh, by Peg. Huh. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow, David. Wow. Don't worry. We'll get back to all of the parts of this episode that you really like, but I really just did go down this rabbit hole of sex addiction, and we both have our own opinions on sex addiction, but I really liked this piece of this article. The vast majority of people who identify as sex addicts are male. Everybody that I've ever met who's identified or used it as an excuse has been male. This prompts me to wonder if the characteristics of sex addiction presently skew significantly towards men and more stereotypical male behaviors. Makes sense. It also makes me wonder if the terms hypersexuality and sex addiction are really code for hypermasculinity.
Makes sense to me.
Sex addiction and hypersexuality may be consequences of a very rigid gender system. This is deeply worrisome for many reasons.
I see.
I liked that take. So, interesting article. I know Psychology Today is kind of a hit or miss, but it's also like WebMD or Wikipedia. So, it's very pop psychology there, but I did like that take on it. So, back to the episode. Mulder is watching porn, the phone rings, and he gets a call from the hospital. We are now in Northeast Georgetown Medical Center, Washington, D.C. Mulder storms through the halls, then starts jogging. Phones ring and doctors talk as Mulder runs past them. A nurse grabs his hand, trying to stop him. And Mulder acts like he's an expert witness in court.
Like he yells?
He screams at everybody. He screams at the nurse. He screams for the doctor. He screams at anybody who's in his way. And I understand that he's terrified. But this is only behavior that Mulder can get away with. Think if Margaret Scully came in acting like this. Do you think that they would let this happen?
Well, they did drag him out. So it's not like they just let him blow off all his steam. They grabbed him and physically removed him. But it's not the best way to get information.
It isn't.
So he's just, way later in my notes, too emotional. He's too emotional.
Oh no, a man showing emotion and not knowing how to deal with it.
It's ineffective, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't either, but it is part of his MO.
Well, at least when he's in court, he's being super emotional as an expert. So
that's true.
It must be effective. They keep calling him in to do it.
I know. Is there no one else? So there's a bit of trivia for this scene because this is the first time that we see Dana Scully laying in bed. Or Dana Scully in several episodes, not gagged in the trunk of a car. So the bit of trivia, Gillian Anderson spent most of this episode supine on a hospital bed, taped up with various tubes. She would invariably fall asleep between and during takes.
That's hilarious.
I think so too. There's a scene that's coming up that I was looking at her. I'm like, I wonder if she's awake or asleep right now. And another bit of trivia, around this time, Gillian Anderson had just recently given birth to her daughter Piper. This was about 2 weeks after she returned, 2 weeks after the birth. So that's crazy.
Wow, that's... I guess it's a good episode to come back to if you can just lay down the whole time.
Yes. It's probably her first postpartum episode, I would say so. And they obviously gave her very little to do as a performer due to her medical condition.
Well, good for them.
Yeah.
I mean, probably give her more time off, but...
Right.
At least you just let her lay down the whole time.
Yes. The most upright she was sitting in a boat a few times. And they could have just taken that one cut and then superimposed everybody else.
Right.
So all of the yelling's happening. We see that Scully has returned, and we end up in Dr. Daly's office. Daly is looking at some charts. Mrs. Scully is sitting in a chair. Mulder is sitting on the arm of the chair because there's only 2 chairs in this office, and there's 3 people. So what are you going to do? Scully is comatose and no one knows what happened or why or for how long. There are no signs of injuries. They also bathed her so that there are no trace evidence. There's no trace evidence. And, oh, by the way, the FBI also contacted the hospital regarding Dana's living will. She doesn't want to live in this state, which...
The FBI just out of nowhere went, hey, kill her.
Yeah. Very...
No real reason for it.
Why? Why would they do that? Why? I don't think that's how living wills work. I don't think your
employer has your living will?
Yeah. I don't think your employer is the one of the... Let's see. Your best friend and your mother. No. The employer.
Right.
It is interesting that Mulder was the one to witness the living will.
Makes sense to me.
I don't know who else they know.
Right.
So...
She does know the one lady who she's the godmother of her kids.
Yeah.
Which I thought was supposed to be her sister.
No, because that wasn't Margaret.
It wasn't Melissa. But I think maybe when they shot that episode, they didn't know that they were going to make Scully's family like a thing that shows up every once in a while.
Maybe.
We might have to go back and watch.
Yeah, okay. We'll find out. So basically what we're getting here is that nobody knows anything. She's just shown up, and based on her living will, she will be disconnected from her tubes, her life support.
One thing we do know, while Scully was disappeared, her breasts have gotten huge. They were distractingly big this entire episode. There were a couple shots where I couldn't think straight. Why are you smuggling basketballs?
You are not alone in that. Apparently, I don't know if it was the producers. I have it in here somewhere. Let me find it. I put it a little further down since I did so much before. Okay. The members of the crew call this episode One Breast. Due to the big lactating breasts of Gillian Anderson, who had just given birth barely a week before. Yeah, you definitely got distracted a lot.
They're stupid big.
That's what
And she's laying down,
yeah.
So that means they're even bigger than they appear to be.
Not a whole lot of experience with lactating breasts, huh?
No. Why would I have any experience with lactating breasts?
I do.
Yes. Of course you do.
All right, so back at Dana's bed, so you can look at her boobs. Dana's sister Melissa is standing over Dana, holding a crystal, doing the, is it a boy or a girl? Crystal reading.
But she's already had the baby. We know it's a girl.
That's true.
It's Piper.
That's right.
And she's breastfeeding.
Or
for sure.
It's still lactating. It does take a while for your body to stop making milk, even if you're not breastfeeding. Your eyes are so big.
They have to be to match Dana Scully's boobs.
Wow. Mulder comes over and Melissa looks at him. She says something like, "I've been told not to call you Fox." And then she wiggles her eyebrows.
Meow.
And you, David, are so excited to meet Melissa. You're going to love the next chapters of Devil's Advocate.
I was so surprised by how excited I was that Melissa showed up.
You're so excited with all of her crystals.
You brought up a great point when we were watching this. Why does Mulder not believe she's psychic?
I know that was a great point. Because all he does is believe everybody else.
Yeah, but then he doesn't believe Melissa.
He has a problem with people who are close to people he cares about. So maybe Melissa is too close to believe. Like, he was fine believing in Miracle Man because Miracle Man wasn't connected to him in any way. He didn't have to have any other feelings about it.
I guess.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah. I just thought it was a great point. You made a great point, and the people needed to know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As they're talking, we see Dana is in a boat tied to a dock. This is a scenario that we see several times, indicating that Dana can hear them talking, but she isn't mentally where her body is physically.
Oh, that's what that's indicating.
Yeah.
I thought she was just on a boat.
You thought it was literal?
Just on a boat.
It is interesting in this scene because this is the first time that we see Mulder and Melissa interacting, and it just gets more and more contentious throughout the episode.
You say contentious. I say heated.
Yeah? Was this super sexy?
Sparks.
No. Right. Actually, I saw another bit of trivia that when they introduced Melissa Scully to this episode, they were considering making her a love interest for Mulder.
Yeah.
And then they decided not to do that.
Well, I guess I can just jump way ahead and say, I'm shipping Mulder and Melissa.
Mulder's just gonna fucking leave, though.
They had chemistry on screen. They had on-screen chemistry.
You think that they had a dalliance?
Maybe.
That Taya Leone had to deal with?
Could be. I'm saying that those two actors had on-screen chemistry, and I'm shipping them way more than Dana and Mulder.
Dana is comatose. And also in this scene, they are like, here, look, you can feel her up.
No, but like 7 inches above her.
Right. It was Reiki massage instead of...
Yes.
instead of physical touch. All right, so they meet, and then we go back to Mulder's apartment.
Oh, not before Mulder says he just can't throw his hands up in the air and wave them like he just doesn't care.
That's right, because he cares too much.
Because he does care.
He does, yes. Back at Mulder's apartment, Mulder takes some masking tape and puts an X on his window. He shines a lamp through the X and turns off the rest of the lights. Then he sits down and he's obviously waiting for something. He's playing with a basketball. He's dozing. He's impatiently waiting for something, but it's obvious that he's waiting.
And it took me to the second watch to figure out what he was doing. I can't believe I didn't get it immediately.
In the morning, he wakes up, once again, not having slept in his own bed. I don't even know if he has a bed.
We've never seen him sleep in his bed in his
Nope.
apartment. Or in any place?
No, because he even slept in the chair in 3.
We saw him in hotel rooms, but we never saw him sleeping in the bed in hotel rooms.
Nope.
And we all know that they get credit for nothing that happens off screen.
That's right.
So far canon that Mulder does not sleep in beds.
Nope. He's allergic to beds. In the morning, he wakes up, looks at the X, and goes to the door. He picks up a newspaper, unwraps it, and flips through it, but there's no message in the newspaper, so he throws it away. He rips the X off the window, and he slams his fist down.
Got no love from Mr. X.
And I wonder, this is the first time that we've seen the masking tape in the window. Does Mr. X know that this is a signal? Is Mr. X watching out for this?
Also, that's another thing. Does he expect, like, Deep Throat and then Mr. X to just always be watching his apartment?
That's a lot.
Yeah. They gotta have a better signal for reaching out. Like, Deep Throat had the, I call you, the phone clicks, and then you come meet me.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm gonna shine a light out the window, and you'd better be looking.
And then when he didn't, he got mad. And he stays mad. But next we go to Northeast Georgetown Medical Center, where Dana is still comatose, and Frohike walks in. I'm not doing Frohickey. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Mulder keeps calling him Frohickey.
I don't care. I've decided that it's just a nickname, because they said Frohike in the first time he was introduced, and that's what I'm going to call him. Anyway, he is decked out in a suit and bow tie, carrying flowers. He walks to the nurse's desk and asks for Dana Scully's bed or whatever. The whole setup here is probably because of cameras and set pieces and all of that, but it really feels like Dana is just comatose in a lobby.
It's weird.
And I've been in different hospital sections where actually the walls are curtains. Mm-hmm. And you have the nursing desk in the center, and you're taking care of each of those people, and you can see them from the nursing station. It's not actually out in the middle of nowhere. But the way that this is, it just feels like he walks into the hospital and is just like...
right there.
First floor. So I know that there are different areas in hospitals where you can be in situations like that because you need to be able to have eyes on people.
I see.
How many hospitals have you been in?
I have not a lot of experience with hospitals.
I volunteered at a hospital and was in the pediatric cancer ward for a little while.
Wow. I went to visit a friend's baby once.
Babies. And they all have the same blankets that they wrap their babies in. The white blankets with the pink and blue stripes on them.
Sure.
Was it a boy or a girl or a them?
I think this one was a girl. maybe a boy. I don't know. They had 3 kids at the time I knew them. So.
You're like, hooray, you have another one.
Yeah.
All right, well, Frohike comes in. Mulder is there. He's dressed to the nines, and he reads Dana's chart and then steals it because what he's reading on it is weird. And do they just know how to read medical charts also?
Apparently Frohike is a photographer/doctor.
I see.
But also then when they get to the office, what's his face? Langley is also a doctor.
All of them know how to read these charts and are just like, that's very strange. It must be a designer amoeba.
Yes.
Not. I didn't listen to that scene. As longtime listeners will know, I do not like these guys, and that's not my scene. So, on we go to the lone gunman's office.
Well, I'd like to point out that Frohike came in and was actually a decent person.
Yeah.
The first time we've seen him be a decent person.
Yep. I did think that was sweet.
Nice.
He showed up, he got ready, he put time and effort into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job, Frohike, in this episode.
Yes, and...
So you're 1 for 3.
Yes. He didn't go, look at those bazungas.
Wow. Scully got some big old mommy milkers.
Gross. Like you did every time she came on the screen.
It's distracting. And the producers of the show agree with me, so...
All right, so we're at the lone gunman's office. Byers is sitting down looking at the charts. Mulder sits at a different desk. Frohike is standing, and Langley walks over and sits at a desk behind Mulder. What do you have to say about this?
Well, they point out that it's like high-tech gene sequencing or some weird stuff.
I wish I could remember the term that they used.
Yeah, I don't quite remember that, but Langley points out that it's no longer active, it's just poisoning her. And then, and then that goes nowhere in the episode.
Right.
So it's odd. But
it's branched DNA.
Yeah, which I have no idea what that means or if it's a real thing.
Me neither. They contacted a hacking genius.
Called the Thinker.
Yeah. And I don't know when they did because all of this happened immediately. So it was like they arrived and the Thinker was like, oh, here's what it is.
I think that the Thinker is also a Flash villain. So I hope it's not the same Thinker.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about the Flash.
But one of the things that jumped out to me is the blonde guy said that they were going to hop on the internet. Because back then, it was a thing you had to do. You weren't just on the internet.
That's true.
You had to get on and dial up and get on your message boards and BBS boards at the time in '94. And they were going to point out the scientific inconsistencies of Earth 2.
Yep.
Which was a TV show at the time starring Clancy Brown.
Ah, you have more information on it than I do.
Oh, well, Clancy Brown's just great. He's great in everything. He's a very good voice actor these days, and he was in the Buster Scruggs movie. He was the big guy at the poker table. But he's a great voice actor because he's got a great voice. Also, one of the directors of that TV show, Joe Napolitano, was a former director of The X-Files. And I wonder if he left the X-Files to go to Earth 2, and this is a dig at him.
Oh, interesting. Because it is a science fiction television series that aired for only 1 season.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we'll ever see him come back.
Could be. I don't know. But I know he directed the episode that we have to go back and watch, Jersey Devil.
Ah, interesting.
To see if that lady is supposed to be Scully's sister or not.
Right.
And we can see Vampire Dad again.
What did we watch him in recently? He showed up.
Oh, he did. He showed up in something we were watching. I don't remember what it was.
Me neither. All right. Well, that wasn't interesting for the listeners, but yeah, he keeps popping up, and we keep remembering him as Vampire Dad, even though he's never been a vampire. But this branched DNA is apparently a biological marker. It is deactivated, like you said, but it's poisoning her. And Mulder asks if it's something like a high-tech identity card.
Oh, or something more insidious,
right.
The blonde guy says. Like grafting something inhuman onto something human.
That's right. Yep. So that's the science that's happening here. Back at the hospital, in Scully's mind, there is a nurse standing on the shore. We are seeing Scully in the boat, tied to the dock, and there's a Nurse Owens on the dock, basically saying really sweet things to her. and trying to get her to find the way home. Mulder shows up. He sees Suspicious Man. Don't know what this guy's name is, so he is Suspicious Man.
Then he ignores him for a little while.
Right. They make eye contact and then turn away from each other. The Suspicious Man grabs Scully's blood. Oh, okay, so back up a little bit. Nurse Owens is talking to Scully, and then Mulder comes in. He does not acknowledge Nurse Owens, as you pointed out.
Right.
But he does acknowledge the other nurse, Wilkins, when she comes in to take blood.
I called her Blood Nurse.
Blood Nurse, and that's when we see Suspicious Man, and then a woman in a bed next to Dana codes. Mm-hmm. So, Blood Nurse.
It's a good distraction for Suspicious Man.
It is. Blood Nurse calls for a crash cart and leaves Dana's vial of blood. That's when Suspicious Man grabs Dana's vial of blood and runs. But Mulder sees Suspicious Man, and there is a chase scene, and the tinkling piano music through this entire scene is really something.
Oh, I didn't notice it at all.
It was the tone, the perfect tone to get inside my head, and it was just like tink, 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 tink. Oh, man, it was making my eardrums cringe. So Mulder runs through the hospital, and he ends up in the parking garage running after Suspicious Man, where he runs into Mr. X instead.
Mulder gives himself away so quickly.
He usually does.
He's following the guy, and he just like, hey! Which is super annoying. But then he gets down to the parking garage, and finally pulls his gun for a good reason. A reason I agree with. Good job, Mulder. I would have probably used it, but
we'll
he decides to just scream a lot.
Well, he does run into Mr. X, so if he had used it, he probably would have shot Mr. X instead.
I don't know if I would have disagreed with that either, because Mr. X in this scene has no chill.
No, he doesn't.
Zero chill. I mean, he's all sweaty like the vampire guy last episode.
That's true. That's true. Mr. X reminds Mulder that he is not going to die. He tells Mulder that Deep Throat got killed because of Mulder, and Scully was killed because of Mulder, and he's not going to let Mulder kill him.
He's freaking out. He didn't have to be here. He could have just stayed home.
I know. I don't know why he's here.
He's here just to freak out at Mulder.
Oh, and to tell him about the people going into his apartment.
No, that's much later.
Is it?
Yeah, that's later.
All right. Well, he's just here to freak out then. So, in my notes, I wrote, this is the first interesting thing that Mr. X has done.
You're not wrong.
He's also a magician, because Mulder grabs at him, and he does like this fake out, and then just poof, is gone. They are in a wide open parking garage, and Mr. X like fakes him out, disappears.
Well, no, he fakes out Mr. X, because Mr. X is trying to hold him up against the wall, and Mulder like jukes him, and then goes out into the open, knowing that Mr. X won't go out into the open.
Is that what happened?
That's what happened.
Oh, I thought Mr. X turned and disappeared.
No, he turned and stayed on the wall because he doesn't want to be seen.
Right.
And Mulder knew that. That's why he got out in the open. And was like, he's not going to follow me.
Well, I misread the scene.
Yeah, it was a good move on Mulder's part.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yes.
Then he gets another wide open shot at Suspicious Man.
Right.
And just goes, hey!
Yes. There's some gunplay here because he does yell, and then there's some shooting. Everybody misses.
Well, Suspicious guy shoots at Mulder. Mulder does not shoot back.
Okay.
It's frustrating.
I can tell. You just made the I'm frustrated sound.
I sure did.
We all race into what appears to be the laundry and Freddy Krueger portion of the hospital.
Yes. Every hospital has a Freddy Krueger portion.
Yep. Mulder finds Suspicious Man, holds him at gunpoint. It's all very dark as Mulder retrieves Scully's blood and interrogates Suspicious Man about who wants the blood.
Does not cuff him.
Nope.
Which is bad move. And then just walks real slow, real close to Suspicious Man, so Suspicious Man can get the drop on him. Yep. Turn around and punch him. Mulder has a glass jaw. He cannot take a punch.
No. So Mulder goes down. There's a scuffle. Mulder goes down, hits his head, or is punched out, or whatever. Mr. X shows up and shoots Suspicious Man in the head twice?
Apparently he just grazed him the first time.
I guess so, because it's two very pointed, I'm aiming my gun and pulling the trigger at this man's head shots.
Now, Mr. X in this scene has a lot of chill.
Yeah. So apparently Mr. X is going to be more interesting, or differently interesting, than Deep Throat. How did you feel about Mr. X becoming this murderess?
I'm fine with it. It's cool. But he's talking about how Mulder doesn't have what it takes to get to the truth, and then executes the guy who knows the truth.
Yeah.
So either he's really bad at finding the truth, or he's trying to hide the truth.
So which do you think it is?
He's gotten this far, so he has to know what he's doing.
Yeah.
So he has to be part of the cover-up. Because he does have this whole thing where he's talking about Mulder, I used to be you, now I'm me.
But you're not me, is what he says. And I'm like, yeah, that's usually how progression works.
And I just don't know, because all these people talk about the pursuit of truth. And some of them have the truth, but keep it hidden.
I think it's because everybody has pieces of the truth, and they don't have enough of the puzzle to do anything with it.
Yeah, but some people, like Deep Throat, have much larger pieces of the puzzle, and they keep that shit to themselves. So I don't think Deep Throat was on the up and up.
No, of course not.
I mean, we're 8 episodes into season 2, and my prediction of he had faked his own death was... I feel like he had showed back up if that was if that was right.
Well, I'm interested to see what they do with Mr. X.
Yeah.
I wasn't at first because I was like, he's just hiding in the dark saying you're not going to get me killed. But now he's murdering people.
But also murdering people who know things that Mulder wants to know.
Which makes me believe that Mr. X already knows.
Right. Yes. So it seems like he's part of the cover-up to me. Okay.
So then we go back to the hospital, back up into the hospital instead of Freddy Krueger's portion of it. Margaret, Melissa, and Dr. Daly are talking about taking Dana off of life support. Oh, you touched my shoulder. I thought you were going to say something.
No, I was just touching you.
Melissa makes the case that death is natural and prolonging, air quotes, life with machines is unnatural. She's correct, and Mulder doesn't like it. Margaret decides to respect Scully's end-of-life wishes, while noting that Mulder is not family. And I was like, ooh, suck it to him. And then she does invite him to come say goodbye, which you said but that was sweet. And I was like, that's not where I thought this was going.
I know. You spiked the football before you got in the end zone on that one.
I did. I don't know what that means, but that's what I did.
Now, Melissa in this scene is talking about how the hospitals are unnatural and everything. Mm-hmm. Now, she's not wrong. Right. But this is a Scully woman versus a wild Mulder theory. And we all know how that goes.
That's true. Yeah. And we're not saying that we're anti-hospitals.
No. That's not what I was going with.
Or medicine. Or vaccines.
No. I'm getting my booster today.
Yes.
Oh, one thing I wanted to point out in this scene is Scully's mom keeps calling him Fox. She seems to be the only person he lets call him Fox, including his own parents.
Yes. I think with his parents, it's one of those, like, those control things where you're trying to differentiate yourself from your parents, but how are you going to tell Margaret Scully? How are you going to correct her when she's actually correct?
I don't know.
They do invite Mulder to come say goodbye, but he refuses. We see Scully in her boat with a nurse on the dock, Nurse Owens on the dock. The rope snaps and Dana drifts away. Presumably she's dead now?
She's just drifting off of the respirator. So the rope was...
tying her to the dock.
It was her respirator.
Yep.
The rope was how she was getting her air. And it got wet.
Yep.
And rope can't be wet.
It cannot. Everybody knows that.
Right.
It's just one of those things that everybody knows. So instead of going in while they turn off the machines, Mulder goes to Assistant Director Skinner's office, and while he's on his way there, the Smoky Man shows up. He throws a document down on Skinner's desk. He picks up a pack of Morley's cigarettes, and as Skinner is sitting at his desk, which is a pretty funny situation because the Smoky Man slaps the folder on the desk, says, "Read it. It's all here." Oh, do you want to do his voice? Go ahead.
Read it. It's all there. If you're having trouble sitting on Mulder, Assistant Director Skinner, I'm sure you know we'd have no trouble.
You didn't do it as high-pitched as I thought you were going to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking you could just read it in your regular voice. It's as high-pitched as his is.
Told you I'm going to start smoking. Just as much as he is. The Smoky Man goes to light a cigarette, and Skinner says, while indicating a plaque on his desk that does not say 1 today equals 2 tomorrow. Instead, it says, "Thank you for not smoking." Smoking Man takes a few drags and then stubs his cigarette out, so we can see that there's a clear hierarchy here, but Smoking Man's not too far down. We are not clear why there is an ashtray in a non-smoking area, but whatever.
Everybody's just posturing.
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody.
Mulder arrives after Smoking Man disappears.
Vanishes.
Does he walk out?
I don't remember. I must have been writing notes.
Me too, because when I look up, he's not there. He does note that the cigarette is still burning in the ashtray, at least somewhat. So he knows that the cigarette smoking man was there just now, but he's gone. So I don't know. And Skinner tells him to sit, so he does. Mulder accuses Cancer Man, which is the first time that he calls him Cancer Man.
Yeah, it's the first time I'd heard it. I've always known him as Cigarette Smoking Man.
Yeah.
Or Smoking Man.
Right.
So apparently that was the fandom that was calling him that?
I think so, yeah.
And never the show?
I guess so, yeah, because they never said it. I don't think.
So if the show's going to be calling him Cancer Man, that's gonna make me stumble.
Well, I'm just calling him Smoking Man. But Mulder calls him Cancer Man. Skinner says Mulder is as much to blame as Cancer Man is. It's a blame game with no winners.
Right. Mulder's not the one who assigned her to the X-Files.
No.
So I have an issue with that. I'd say whoever assigned her to the X-Files is responsible.
That would make sense. Was it Skinner?
Probably.
Right? But he's only taking orders, so he doesn't have to take the blame.
Right.
We're back at the hospital. In Scully's mind, she's laying on a table in a white dress. All the walls are white except for one, which is a black void. Through the void walks her father, dressed in his admiral's uniform. He walks over to her and says some stuff. This is when you exclaimed once again about her boobs.
Because now she's smuggling beach balls. It's ridiculous.
Her father does not comment on her breasts.
It's like she's got natural lactating breasts, and then they put her in a push-up bra. They're like, we've got to really accentuate these in this scene.
I don't know if you listened throughout this scene because you were so taken by her breasts, and then I got emotion-induced hiccups, so I also wasn't paying attention in this scene. But I did write down, I did pull what her father says to her. He says, "Do you want to do it or should I?"
Can you do it in Don Davis's voice?
Yes.
Awesome.
"Hello, Starbuck. It's Ahab. People would say to me, life is short. Kids, they grow up fast. And before you know it, it's over. I never listened. For me, life went at a proper pace. There were many rewards until the moment that I knew I understood that I would never see you again. My little girl. Then my life felt as if it had been the length of one breath.
That's the name of the thing!
One heartbeat. I never knew how much I'd loved my daughter until I could never tell her. At that moment, I would have traded every medal, every commendation, every promotion for one more second with you. We'll be together again, Starbuck. But not now. Soon."
My other kids, fuck them.
Yep.
My wife, chuck her. Just you, Dana.
Did you like my
Oh, it was great.
Scully?
It was dead on.
Thank you.
It was the best impression I've ever heard.
Dana sleeps through this whole situation where I was actually trying to see if her eyelids were in REM and like she was twitching, like she was actually asleep. Couldn't tell. Mulder and Melissa are in the cafeteria talking. A woman interrupts asking for change for the cigarette machine. You know, the cigarette machine located inside the hospital.
Yeah, the 90s were wild.
Yeah. Mulder says he doesn't have change for whatever. She didn't have any money in her hand, so it's kind of like she asked him just for money for the machine. She indicates Morley's are in the drop and leaves them because they, quote, aren't her brand. Which is wild to me because cigarettes are so expensive that I feel like if you... The brand loyalty on cigarettes, like, wow. Just wow.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've never been a smoker, so...
Free cigarettes, now, what do cigarettes cost now these days? Like $8 a pack or something? It's a lot.
I was thinking $5, thinking that was a lot.
They used to be $5. They're a lot. So she leaves them in there. Obviously, it's a ploy to get Mulder to look in the at the Morley's and unwrap the package and whatever. So in the Puerto Rico episode, I determined that I wanted to be a person who always carried a Sharpie.
That's right.
And so now I have a Sharpie in my purse now. So now I am that person, which is great for me.
Congratulations on achieving your life's goal.
Thank you. Now my new life's goal is to figure out how to rewrap that cellophane around cigarette packs after putting a secret note inside.
I figured it out as you were saying that.
Oh.
You know how it's all folded up and glued on the bottom?
Yeah.
You undo that, carefully pull the cellophane off, put your note in there, carefully put the cellophane back on, and re-glue it onto the bottom.
You're right.
There you go.
That would work. That'll be as easy as adding a Sharpie to my purse.
Yep.
Okay, great. Woo! Love easy goals for me. Love this for me. So inside the pack is the address to the cigarette smoking man's apartment. So Mulder goes to the address. At the apartment, we see the smoking man sitting in his chair. Did you notice how there was no art on the walls?
Yeah.
This is the most bachelor of bachelor pads.
Yeah. It's just one chair and a TV.
And you know that TV...
And cigarettes.
You know that TV was set on a box he found on the side of the road.
And his end table was plywood on milk crates.
Yep. And he had 2 empty beer bottles and a million cigarette butts. He's watching an old war movie. What do you think that movie would be?
Something in the public domain.
No, I know, but for the cigarette smoking man watching an old war movie, what do you think that movie would be?
I don't know the name of old war movies. It's something about World War II, I can tell you that.
It usually is, yeah. Right? There are various screams coming out of the TV on this show. Why do men all like to watch old war movies?
They don't.
Those
are just the movies that are in the public domain. So that's what people on TV watch.
No, my dad always would watch old war movies.
Oh, I'm not old. I'm very young.
Oh, sorry.
So I don't watch war movies. Only old men watch war movies.
You just told me that they didn't.
Then you proved me wrong.
I did.
So I accepted your proof.
All right. It's like you've never met a man in your entire life.
I haven't.
Lucky. All right, so the ashtray is brimming with old cigarettes, so you know that apartment just smells...
Ooh, so bad.
Because you know this man does not crack a window.
Or shower.
Oh, God. Yikes. His gun sits on the other side of the table as he puts a newly finished cigarette into one of the beer bottles.
He went to the Dana Scully School of Keeping Your Gun Near You. It's out of reach if anything happens.
Mulder comes in behind him.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he entered because the door is on the wall you can see, unless that's the bathroom door, maybe.
Right. I don't know how he snuck into Smoky Man's apartment.
I think he nightcrawlered in there.
Okay.
Just bamf.
Do you think he did what Celeste did in Soapbox?
Oh, climbed up the drain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mulder comes up behind him. He's yelling a lot. You are let down by Mulder in this scene.
I am so let down.
So I would like you to emphasize what you meant by that comment.
This is where I wrote in my notes, too emotional. He's screaming, yelling. You're not going to get any information like that. You're also not going to get any information if you're not willing to make him give you information. You know that this guy is well connected. He's not afraid of anything. You're not going to be able to say, I'm going to make you sorry. You have to make him sorry.
Yeah.
You have to go there prepared to do bad things to this man.
Right. The threats are going to be empty.
Obviously, you hold the gun on him because that's how you get him to sit still. I also would have brought a stiletto with me, and I would have put it on the top of his knee.
Oh.
And every time he gave me an answer I didn't like, it would go in a little further.
Because you know Mulder has stilettos in his house. Somebody has left them.
I'm not talking about the shoe. I'm talking about the knife.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm talking about the shoe.
You bring a shoe and dig a shoe into his knee. Oh no, I'm talking about a knife. You put a knife just right there, right behind the kneecap.
Ow.
Well, yeah, that's the point. Ow is the point.
Well, I'm still picturing a very tall high heel shoe, a stiletto, if you will.
Well, the shoe is named after the knife.
I don't know.
It's real skinny.
I know what a stiletto shoe is.
I'm talking about the knife. I'm still talking about the knife. I have never not been talking about the knife.
going.
It is a dagger.
Got it.
And you just rest it right there, right behind the kneecap. And if he gets tough, you just put it in a little. And then eventually, you either pop his kneecap off, or he gives you the information you want. I put myself in the headspace of characters on TV, too often probably, but I think about what I would be doing if this was a person I cared about, and he knows how she got there.
Yep.
He might know how to bring her back.
That's true.
I don't just go in there and yell at him. Ah! I go in there and I make him tell me things. You know that this guy knows everything you want to know. Make him tell you.
I agree. I agree with you. That would be my take, but I don't think that they could make Mulder that gritty. Which is unfortunate because all they do is make him overly emotional and ineffective.
Yeah. So ineffective. He accomplishes nothing.
No, he doesn't.
I take it back. He accomplishes one thing.
What?
I actually now have an acceptable reason for why the cigarette smoking man doesn't kill him and Scully.
Because he liked Scully?
Because he likes him. That is actually a reasonable explanation.
It is. It's very good.
I just, something about you guys that I like. Okay. Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah. I don't want to kill you because I
like you guys.
I like having you around. You're a pain in my ass, but...
Yes, you are unfortunate to be in my business. But I can't help but like you guys.
Yeah.
I accept that as an explanation.
I like it. So in this scene, Smoking Man is unfazed this whole time because Mulder did not bring a shoe or a dagger. And so what he says to Mulder is, "Who are you? If people were to know the things I know, it would all fall apart. I told Skinner you shot the man in the hospital, but I didn't really believe it. And here you are with a gun to my head. I have more respect for you, Mulder. You've become a player. You can kill me now, but you'll never know the truth," which is a real good line.
Mm-hmm.
So Mulder starts to squeeze the trigger at that point, but then he slowly releases it. We know he's not going to shoot this guy. We aren't fooled.
And neither is Smoking Man.
And exactly. And he says, "And that's why I'll win. Don't worry. This will be our secret. We wouldn't want others to start rumors."
We wouldn't.
And here's a bit of trivia that I find amazing and will now and forever view as Smoking Man's character.
Okay.
So, at a talk at Cornell University, William B. Davis mentioned that he portrays the cigarette smoking man as if he is the good guy.
Nice.
In the series, and as if Mulder and Scully are the bad guys trying to thwart him.
Nice.
I freaking love it. This comes through the cigarette smoking man's line about being in the game because I believe what I'm doing is right.
Mm-hmm.
I love this take because if you think about it, everyone believes they're on the right side.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody's always on the right side. They aren't the bad guy. So it makes so much sense to play him as if he's the good guy against the bad guys. But we're seeing it from Mulder and Scully's point. Of course, they're the good guys.
Right.
It's beautiful. It's also perfect because it's set up with this good guy, bad guy scenario right before we find out that Skinner was in Vietnam.
Yeah. Such an odd scene.
Yeah, we're not going to go into the whole story unless you really feel like it. But that's just another prime example of who thinks they're in the right.
Yeah.
War in general. Not specifically. There are definitely some people who are on the right side. Like, not Nazis.
I'm going to say World War II is the...
definitive.
Is the last time the United States was ever involved in a conflict where we were on the right side.
So we go to the X-Files office. Mulder sits at his computer and he's typing something. He clicks a button on the mouse and the printer fires up. He takes the paper out and signs it. It reads, "To Assistant Director Walter S. Skinner, please accept my resignation from the Federal Bureau of Investigation effective immediately. Sincerely, Fox Mulder."
This is such a crybaby thing to do.
It's absolutely a crybaby thing to do.
Super annoying.
And Skinner calls him on it. He comes in and he tears up the resignation, saying that, "I know you blame yourself for what happened to Scully, and I've also forgotten that I did tell you that it was your fault, so now I'm going to say it isn't your fault."
I know you feel responsible. It's literally the words you fucking said to me earlier.
The last time we were face to face, it's what you told me. You said I was as responsible as the smoking man.
Dumb.
Mulder says that he hates what he's become. Fine. We've all felt that way at some point or other. When a person close to us is dead or dying, probably a time for you to be like, wait a second, let me look at myself and my behavior.
Let me reflect on my own mortality and my own life.
Yeah. A lot of times you're not going to like what you see. Not necessarily everything, but you're going to find something that you don't like. Mm-hmm. This is when we find out that Skinner was in Vietnam. It's math time. If Skinner was in Vietnam the first year in 1955 and joined at 18, he would be 57 in 1994.
1955?
Yeah.
Is
that wrong?
That can't be right.
It didn't, because I don't feel like Skinner's 57.
Now, also, Vietnam was into the 70s, and I don't think that conflict went like 20 years.
Yeah, it did.
Wow. Okay. I did not realize how long the frickin' Vietnam War went.
I actually didn't either, but I did look up the year that it started because I wanted to do this math.
So we just went straight from Korea to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Wow. Did not know that.
Yep.
I think of Vietnam as a 70s thing.
I do too, but that's because we went to public school.
Yeah, I guess so.
So obviously, since it has been going, it went on for 20 years. I guess that makes sense why there was a draft, because after a while you've killed all of your expendable people.
I guess that's true. I didn't think of it like that.
Well, Skinner was not drafted. He signed up. He went to the Marine Corps.
Probably not the first year.
Well, yes.
He had 20 years to sign up.
Yes, but that's why I did it, because I was like, Skinner's not 57 in this episode.
No.
Okay.
He's probably 28.
Oh my gosh. Mulder realizes that Skinner gave him the Smoky Man's address, but, it's all innuendo and...
Yeah, they never say it.
And Mulder says that by doing that, he has put himself in danger. And Skinner says, everyone's life is in danger.
Always.
And it's like, great. Somewhere dark, Mr. X takes Mulder's plane ticket. So this is after he leaves Skinner's office. Where was Mulder going? Do you know? I didn't catch it either time. Because Mr. X says, give me your plane ticket. And I was
No, he gives him a plane ticket. X gives Mulder a plane ticket.
He says, give me your plane ticket. Because Mulder's supposed to be out of town. So X must have set it up.
Yeah, I thought X bought the plane ticket to make it look like Mulder was going out of town. That's how I read it.
All right, well, fine. Either way, Mr. X tells Mulder to be at his home because at 8:17 p.m., some people are going to break in and ransack his place.
Yeah. So X can order people to do things. Mm-hmm. Clearly, he's behind Scully's disappearance now.
He's also connected to whoever is going through Mulder's house. What are they looking for?
They think that Mulder has information about Scully that he's not supposed to have.
Okay.
But X knows that they think that, which pretty much means he made them think that.
Right.
Which means he's in charge of them.
Or at least really high up
in somebody's ear. And they are, like, quote, the people who are responsible for Scully's disappearance. So the people who are responsible for Scully's disappearance work for Mr. X.
Yeah.
Like, it's really the only explanation behind all of this.
Well, now we know what Mulder is supposed to be doing tonight. So he goes home. He's sitting alone in the dark with his gun on the table.
And I wrote down, you better keep one of them alive to get some information.
He looks at his watch. It's only 7:30. He picks up the gun, and there's a knocking at the door. Outside, it's Melissa. She knocks again. She knocks a bunch. She says that Dana is declining, right?
Weakening.
And basically asks if she can come in and then pleads with him to come to the hospital to say his goodbyes. And he refuses because, of course, he's supposed to be there at 8:17, and she says some things that get in under his skin. And,
yeah. She's under his skin. Yeah, they're fiery.
Okay.
Sparks are flying between these two.
Okay. Are they?
Yeah, these two actors have good chemistry.
I mean, it's better than anything that's been written as far as chemistry goes, but whatever. Melissa leaves because Mulder says that he would go, but he can't go. Not now.
Right.
She's mad. And he doesn't say, like, but I'll be there soon, or...
He could say, yeah, I'll be there at 9. I'm
could...
just going to kill these two guys first.
He literally could say, I have to do something right now, but I will be there very soon. Mm-hmm. And then she would be like, okay.
But she says, you could get all the revenge you want, but it's not going to bring her back.
Right.
And that's what changes his mind.
That's right.
And I'm disappointed again.
He's so gullible and easily led.
It's not just about revenge. It's also about information.
Yeah.
The truth is out there, Mulder, and you're avoiding it at every turn.
Every turn. And I think that's part of his whole personality. He thinks he wants the answers,
but he doesn't really.
Huh,
that's interesting.
What does he do once he has the answers?
Oh, then he can't keep looking.
No, and his whole personality is being the guy looking for answers, and if he has the answers, then who is he?
Wow, that's deep.
I don't know if he recognizes that's what he's doing, but I see it.
I wonder if the writers recognize that that's what he's doing.
I don't know. He ends up going to the hospital like we knew he was going to.
He's going to keep them both alive, I guess.
Mr. X and...
So, people breaking in.
Oh, yes. Yes, he's going to keep all of them. Everybody's alive. It's fine. It's cool. No big deal. So he goes to the hospital. He sits next to Dana Scully, and he says, I feel, Scully, that you believe you're not ready to go, and you've always had the strength of your beliefs. I don't know if my being here will help bring you back, but I'm here. And that actually comes up later, because he says, you've always had the strength of your beliefs, and later she says, I had the strength of your beliefs to him, which was interesting. He sits back in his chair and stares at her solemnly, and the clock reads 8:17. So obviously we know that he's missing.
He missed his time.
Now, do you think it was a setup and Mr. X is going to have Mulder murdered?
No, because he wouldn't have warned him that people were coming.
That's a good point. Well, he could have in order to set it up so that Mulder would have been there at 8:17, because otherwise he doesn't know what Mulder's schedule is.
Yeah, but if he's expecting people to come over,
then he'll definitely be there.
Yeah, but he'll also be ready for them.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. Unless he sends like 6 guys instead of 2.
Right.
But that's pure speculation.
Because anything that happens off screen doesn't happen at all.
Exactly.
Mulder's apartment. We knew he would go to the hospital. It also makes sense for his character because Melissa got under his skin, and he has absolutely no power over a pretty woman who says something that makes his heart hurt just a little bit.
Relatable.
It's also the first time that he's taken someone else's life seriously over knowing the truth.
Yeah.
Because usually he's like, well, I might just kill you or get you killed or
get you killed
or put you through a traumatizing experience like that child he wanted to have. What was it? What was the psychic or not psychic? The
past life, the reincarnation episode.
Yes. So he gets there. His apartment has been ransacked. He cries, but doesn't know what to do with his hands. No,
it's hard to make a joke and not like do a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna sit here quietly and stare at my hands.
Okay. Back at the hospital, in Scully's mind, she's lying on a bed in a small clearing in a forest. The green screen technology here is mwah.
It's so good.
There's a chair in the corner, and then the nursing area slowly comes into view, and there's doctors and nurses walking around, so now we see where she's actually seated. There is a nurse at the desk who says, I'll look at the chart, and she looks up. It's nurse, what is her name, Wilkins?
Yes, the one who is formerly a coroner.
Yes. She looks up and notices that Dana has opened her eyes and says, call Dr. Daly now. So that's what happens there. We know Scully's waking up. Back at Mulder's apartment, he's on his sofa and the phone rings. The machine picks it up. On the answering machine, it says, hello, this is Fox Mulder. Leave a message. Why would you say Fox Mulder if you didn't want anybody to call you Fox?
That's a really good point. You've made some great points this episode.
Thank you. He picks up the receiver and says, I'm here. He listens and slowly a smile comes across his face. He's obviously got the news. Back at the hospital, Scully is in a room now with flowers off to the side. Margaret sits in a chair. Melissa is sitting on her bed. Mulder walks in. Melissa gets up to make some room. He says a couple of things and hands her Superstars of the Super Bowl.
It was pretty funny.
And I want to show you this picture. So this is obviously not the 1994 one, but I was like, is that a real thing? And it is. You can get the library binding version of the 2018 variation for less than $10.
Well, that's a book. He gives her a VHS tape.
I know, but it's just funny. It's the only one that came up.
It is pretty funny.
What a terrible picture. She says, as he hands it to her, she says, I knew there was something worth living for.
Good line.
It was pretty funny. They talk a little bit. That's when she says, I had your beliefs to keep me going. And he leaves.
No, that's when he turns around and gives her her necklace back.
Oh, that's right. Yes. You want to talk about that?
He gives her her necklace back. Pretty much it.
All right. A little bit later, we see Scully talking to Nurse Wilkins. She asks for Nurse Owens, the nurse we kept seeing being her guardian angel, because twist, it was her guardian angel.
Hell yeah, it was.
And the nurse says, Dana, I've worked here for 50 years.
Nurse Owens died 50 years ago.
She actually says, I've worked here for 10 years and there's no Nurse Owens at this hospital. And then she leaves. And I said, really? Like, that seems like a common enough name that someone would have it, even if it wasn't a nurse, but an orderly or a doctor or a candy striper or whatever else, the anesthetician.
Also, that's a lie. You haven't worked here for 10 years because you were a coroner last year.
In Philadelphia or something. Born and raised on the playground is where I spent most of my days.
Oh, you switched the subject of that sentence mid-sentence.
And then the last bit of trivia I have for this episode, David Duchovny was so amazed by the fantastic performance of Gillian Anderson in The X-Files Beyond the Sea, showing Scully's feelings about losing her father, that he asked the writers for an episode with emotions like that for him.
Ha!
The result was one breath in which Mulder displays his feelings for losing Scully.
That's interesting. I'm not sure how to take that.
I'm not sure it worked.
You don't think?
It was a good episode, again, but I don't think he is, at this time at least, a good enough actor to play emotional without coming off as...
Yelly?
Without coming off as juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of behavior I would expect someone who hasn't lived life enough to realize, okay, these emotions are a lot, and how do I manage this? This man has never had to manage his own emotions, which is why he gets to scream. There's a time and a place, and he doesn't seem to know what that is.
Yeah.
All right, we know who you're shipping.
Yes, because they have chemistry.
I'm going to ship Margaret Scully and Dr. Daly.
Interesting. Any particular reason?
Because I needed to ship somebody.
Gotcha.
And they're both ready to let Dana go.
Yeah. Nice.
How are you surviving?
I think I'm surviving by getting those designer antibodies.
Yeah!
That sounds good. I want that. Give me that.
I'm going to survive by not working with Fox Mulder.
I guess that could work too.
Seems like anybody attached and connected to him goes through some real bad shit. In his personal and professional life. Deep Throat's dead. Scully's disappeared.
Deep Throat's maybe dead.
Dwayne
I'm still
Barry's
not considering. Dwayne Barry? Fox Mulder's best friend, Dwayne Barry?
And what's his name? Fox Mulder's actual best friend.
Krychek?
No, he's gone. Max.
Max, yeah.
Max is gone. Bad things happen to those around Fox Mulder. And then we heard the lady on the answering machine.
You pestered me for weeks about dating me? Mm-hmm. Unfortunate.
And Mr. X has had enough of his shit.
Yeah. Mr. X had enough of this shit from the minute they met.
I know!
Why on earth did Mr. X introduce himself?
I don't know.
He just hates Mulder.
It's great.
It's weird.
It is weird. It was weird. It was weird before, and now I think it's great because I want to see what happens with him. Now that he has a fiery, murderous temper. Actually, it's not even a temper. Mulder has the temper. Mr. X is just like, this has to be done. I'm cleaning up after you. You.
I guess.
I used to be like you, but now I'm like me.
Why was Mr. X even there?
I don't know.
And what happened to Scully's blood?
He kicked it, so it must have gone under something. Oh, and then they said there were
There was traces of it.
Yeah.
There was not a vial of it.
I don't know.
Suspicious guy was working for Mr. X.
I think so.
And Mr. X took the blood.
I think so, too.
Yeah, Mr. X is a bad guy.
Okay.
For sure. For sure.
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay. I'm not arguing with you.
I'm just saying that I'm more interested in who he is and why he's here now than I have been before.
Yeah. He's giving off way more bad guy vibes than Deep Throat even did. All right, so they didn't say anything about Scully giving birth or having a C-section, so maybe she didn't have an alien baby?
In canon?
Yeah.
As far as we know, they didn't say anything about her reproductive system.
Yeah. So hopefully that was just a weird vision Mulder had and not something that actually happened to her.
I guess we'll see.
In which case, it's weird that they even put it in there.
It is. That whole episode was weird with the flashes and is he envisioning this? And if he is, then why does he hate Melissa for being psychic?
Right.
Does he hate Melissa for being psychic because she's real psychic and he's fake psychic?
Could be.
Or is he real psychic and she's fake psychic and that's why he hates her?
Well, he's never claimed to be psychic, though.
But if those visions were true...
It's all weird.
You're rubbing your forehead. Okay. Well, is there anything that you are looking forward to this week?
Christmas is in a couple days.
It is. I am looking forward to doing that tabletop RPG himbo that I discovered. I listened to, or I'm a patron of Rusty Quill, and they did an episode where they put together a one-sheet RPG called Himbo, and it's so much fun. Just like, I cannot wait for the second half to drop, and so I've got the sheet, and so we're going to play it. Play that or the Christmas one that I got.
I'm excited.
It'll be fun.
Yep.
I have never GM'd before.
It's going to be fun.
I'm also looking forward to going back and playing Doki Doki Literature Club.
Awesome. Do that while I go get boosted.
Yep. All right. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and bye.
That from me as well. The Cast Files is produced by Kristen Riley and Daive Reed. Edited by Daive Reed. You can find us on Twitter at Cast Files. You can find me on Twitter at Daive Reed. That's DaiveReed. You can email us at thecastfiles. That's the with 2 E's at gmail.com. If you could please go rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars, and tell us that we are doing phenomenal things. Artistic, wonderful things. We are raising the bar on podcasting. We would love you forever for that. We have a TeePublic store. You can go buy t-shirts and stuff there. Music by House 6. Logo by @OokaArt. That's OOKAART.